Repeat Group Performance Task Handout 1.
You will hear a lecture on the problems related to space exploration. While listening, take notes on all the main points and important details of the lecture. You will hear the lecture once.
For centuries, people dreamed about leaving Earth and traveling to other worlds. More than 500 people have flown into space since Yuri Gagarin paved the way in 1961. 20 people have traveled to the moon, and 12 of them have walked on it. Space stations have been built, and astronauts have learned to live and work in space for many months or even years. And now, humans are trying to figure out how to step onto Mars. However, space exploration is not an easy task, and it comes with its own set of problems. Outer space can be dangerous, and there are certain factors that make space exploration an especially challenging task. In today's lecture, we'll be focusing on 4 of the problems that astronauts face during space exploration. The first problem that astronauts face during space exploration is the space debris problem. Are you familiar with the word debris? Well, let me spell it for you first. D-E-B-R-I-S, debris. Okay, so what is space debris? Well, it actually means space junk. These are the non-functional, man-made objects floating in space, such as non-functional satellites or rockets. It is estimated that there are more than 500,000 pieces of debris or space junk orbiting the Earth right now. The amount of debris in space causes a threat to both manned and unmanned spaceflight. And so why does this debris constitute a problem for space exploration? Well, objects orbit Earth at a speed of 28,000 kilometers per hour. And because of this high speed at which objects orbit Earth, a collision with even a small piece of space debris can damage a spacecraft or a space station. For example, space shuttle windows often have to be replaced because of damage from collisions with man-made debris smaller than 1 millimeter. If this space debris problem is not tackled soon, the Earth's orbit may become impassable in the future. Now, if you don't have any questions related to the first one, I'll move on to the second problem. So, the second problem that astronauts face during space missions is mental problems. Why do astronauts face mental problems during space exploration? Well, to begin with, during their space missions, astronauts are confined in a small space for a very long time. They must remain inside of a small space station for 6 to 12 months at a time, only going outside during a spacewalk. Moreover, they have a very difficult job to complete. Space is a dangerous place to be in. One wrong step may result in their death. And during these stressful times, they have little or no contact with their loved ones. On Earth, We have the luxury of picking up our cell phones and instantly being connected with nearly everything and everyone around us. However, in space, this is not the case. Therefore, the confinement, stress, and extreme isolation that is experienced by astronauts cause many mental issues for them. And what are some of these mental problems experienced by the astronauts? Well, inability to sleep is one. What else? Hallucination, anxiety, and concentration difficulties are some others. These mental problems experienced by astronauts may have a negative impact on space exploration, as they may jeopardize the astronauts' chances of completing their mission successfully. Okay then, now let's continue with the third problem. The third problem that astronauts encounter during their long space missions is muscle and bone disorders. We rely on our muscles to walk, lift objects, and climb stairs. However, in space, muscles become weaker. So, why do our bones and muscles become weaker during space missions? Well, it's because there is no gravity to overcome in space. When the effects of gravity are absent, the muscles and bones of astronauts do not have to work as hard and become weaker. In space, the amount of weight that bones and muscles must support is reduced to almost zero. Over time, calcium, which is normally stored in the bones, is broken down and it is permanently eliminated from the body in the urine. This bone loss begins within the first few days in space. The most severe loss occurs between the second and fifth months in space, although the process continues throughout the entire time spent in microgravity. At worst, an astronaut walking out of his spacecraft for the first time could slip and break a bone the moment he gets back to Earth, because his bones and muscles have weakened over time. In addition to the problems that are faced upon returning to Earth, the bone and muscle loss may also be problematic during long space missions in which astronauts are required to leave the spacecraft and perform difficult bodily tasks. This is because the astronauts will have no strength in their bones and muscles to perform these tasks. Astronauts are required to exercise every day. However, this exercise schedule is not enough to eliminate muscle and bone loss. The fourth and the most important problem that I want to mention related to space exploration is space radiation. As we all know, radiation is very harmful for all living things. On Earth, we are protected from space radiation by a natural magnetic field around Earth and our protective atmosphere. However, most of the planets and moons do not have this protective atmosphere. Therefore, for astronauts working outside the protection of Earth's magnetic field, space radiation becomes a very serious threat. A lack of atmosphere in space means that astronauts are exposed to the destructive nature of space radiation. Radiation in space takes the form of subatomic particles, and these particles cause irreversible damage to the astronaut's DNA. Did you know that astronauts are exposed to approximately 50 to 2,000 millisieverts while on a 6-month duration space mission? Well, the survivors of the atomic bomb explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki received very similar doses of radiation. So you can get a picture of how high this dose is for the astronauts. And what are some of the problems associated with being exposed to space radiation? Well, for one thing, space radiation exposure increases the risk of cancer. Moreover, it damages the central nervous system, reduces motor functions, and causes many behavioral changes in astronauts. As you can see, space radiation is dangerous and one of the primary health risks for astronauts participating in space missions. So, that's all for now. Next week, we will continue.